Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. And thank you for a lively discussion about General Michael Langley. I have my opinion and you have your opinion, and that's all well and good. I take it seriously when we say we have no friends. Now keep that in mind. Either we do or we don't. But this time I'm talking about something different. And I saw this video about a woman that's talking about Trump and him resegregating America, which, it always was segregated. But she brought out some interesting points that I would like to share and then comment on.
So I had some white colleagues ask me what I thought about Trump actually segregating whites and blacks. And I actually told them straight up, like, honestly, I would love that. Now, they looked at me like I was crazy, and they almost spit up their almond milk, and I think they thought that maybe I was saying that out of hatred, but it really isn't about hatred. Here's the thing. I'm not talking about their version of segregation. See, I'm talking about our version of righteous separation, spiritual sovereignty, and black sufficiency. See, the truth of it is that integration was never about freedom. It was finesse. It was a system's way of saying, let's stop them from succeeding independently so we can profit from their brilliance directly. It was about control. And so I want us to be very clear about this. We were never separate but equal. So that's a lie. We were separate and excelling. We had our own schools. We had our own banks. We had our own businesses. And baby, we were thriving. Black Wall Street, they burned it. Rosewood, they bombed it. Wilmington, they overthrew it. Why? Because we were doing too well without them, and they couldn't handle that. And so that's the truth. They didn't really want segregation gone. They wanted control. This is why we know that integration was just repackage of chains. When we were separate, we actually were building and excelling. And when they saw that we could excel without them, then it was like, oh no, we got to take control and make sure that their labor is profiting us. So right around that time, they rolled out this whole standardized testing, ACT and SAT. Y'all remember that? They created this IQ ranking to measure their norms, not our brilliance. And then we were said we were behind when we really weren't. We were just building our own lane, not asking for theirs. See, I don't know about you all, but I'm kind of tired of the lies. It's very exhausting, just the lies that continue to be promoted. And I want to talk about the melanin, because this whole thing that we're not smart enough, that we're not bright enough, is simply just a lie. And so, all this testing that they're doing, and I have kids in school, and they're made to feel that they cannot achieve. And I have to remind them about their actual superpower, melanin. See, not just your skin tone, but in your brain, specifically neuromelanin, that rich dark pigment found in areas like the substantia nigra, which are critical for learning and memory and decision making and emotional regulation. See, if you don't know, then you won't know how to respond. But when you learn about the studies that have actually linked the neuromelanin to higher concentrations and how it's related to enhanced memory and processing and higher intelligence and faster reaction times, then you know why they have hidden this information for so long. Because when you have higher melanin, you have stronger brain resilience against degenerative diseases. So translation to that is melanin doesn't just make you glow, it makes you grow. So we know that it's not coincidental that people with more melanin have historically been creators, inventors, innovators across every discipline, while also being the most suppressed, because they know that the more melanin you have in your body and in your brain, actually produces higher intelligence.
She is absolutely right. When we were segregated, in the early part of my life, we were segregated. All of the areas of America had black areas. Even in my small hometown, there was a black area where black people congregated, spent money, money turned over to in black hands, and it was a thriving area. But they always found a way to shut it down. And that was about them making that money off of us. She's also right about the test scores. When they so-called integrated the schools, that's when they brought in those tests again to measure their intelligence, their mediocrity, if you really want to know the truth about it, because black people were excelling, black people were inventing and creating. If you come to Mississippi, when you go across the Mississippi line, my home state of Alabama borders Mississippi. When you go into Mississippi, there's a sign that says, "Welcome to Mississippi, home of America's music." Mississippi is said to be home to the blues. That's Black America's music. But that's their a way of always trying to get into whatever it is we're doing and testing you to say you're behind, you're not as smart as the white people. I always find it interesting that when I'm doing research about anything to do with black people relative to statistics and numbers, they're always going to put up black people did this, but white people did that. Why? I'm not asking about white people. I'm asking about black people. But they always want to put up some comparison number to show that white people are doing so much better than black people. And it's really not true. And again, back to those towns, everybody knows about Black Wall Street and maybe Rosewood. But there were other massacres that destroyed black towns. Lake Lanier up there in Georgia. On the misinformation that a black man had done something to a white woman, which is always the excuse, they flooded that town, killed many of those black people. My husband belongs to a fishing club, and they go fishing around the lakes and rivers of Atlanta, and there's plenty of them. And one day we were watching TV, and something came on about Lake Lanier. And I said, "Well, do y'all fish up there?" He said, "No, we don't fish up there." He said, "It's eerie up there." And then he told me about the story of Lake Lanier, how they flooded that town, a self-sustaining town of thriving black people. The town was called Oscarville. During the Lake Lanier massacre, 98% of Oscarville's black population were either forced to flee or were murdered for refusing to move. More than 1,100 black people lost their jobs, and the formerly thriving black population in Oscarville and Forsyth County vanished. The destruction of Oscarville was later covered up by the construction of the Beaufort Dam and the formation of Lake Lanier. Since 1956, approximately 700 people have died in Lake Lanier, leading many to suspect it is haunted. Okay, so 1,100 people lived in this thriving town, but on the basis of a lie, those people will run out of town and then they try to cover it up by making it into a lake. But the truth has a way of coming out. And now everybody knows that's just another one of the massacres. And Forsyth County, up until very recently, was named a sundown county, not just a town, but a county. But this was all to destroy the progress and the wealth of black people. But they get jealous because black people are thriving, had come out of slavery, out of Jim Crow, and still thriving. And they get upset about it. So they use the white woman as an excuse to destroy black towns. That has been done all over this country. New York City has Seneca Village. It was a thriving village, self-sustaining community. They tore that down to build Central Park. So the separation might be good for us. And it's not about segregating because you don't like white people, but it's separating so we can thrive and grow. and be all that we can be. And if we could just get white people to go on about their business and leave black people alone, maybe we could all thrive and do better. But I want to know what you think about what she said and what you think about separation, racial separation, and not out of hatred or anger, but because everybody wants to live in peace and thrive. Let me know what you think. Thank you for listening. Give me a thumbs up and have a great evening.